You're not required to interview with dude. That's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. It is
Appreciate that.
7:48. 7:49. We will return to regular session. Our next item is our consent agenda. We have item A: approve the minutes of the council meeting of August 1st and a special meeting with the park board on August 5th, and approve pay ordinance number 860. Any discussion of the consent agenda? Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not roll call, please.
Michael,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried.
Okay. Our next item is called to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter not on tonight's agenda. Ouch. There's a 4-minute time limit. Please stand and be recognized. Duke, come on up.
My name's Charles Duke Nealon, and I live at 30820 West 90th Street in Soto. And I think some of you are aware that I said I was going to be up here tonight. But what happened was an incident on August the 3rd, which was my birthday. I turned 73. Vicki and I went into town and had dinner, and we was coming back to DeSoto, and we were unaware that there was actually construction on Saturday on Kill Creek. So we turned off of 83rd Street to go south on Kill Creek, and that's when we saw that the cones were all there, and there was a flagman with signs that was on up the roadways, and we weren't really sure where to navigate, the right lane or the left lane. We were confused, so we stopped immediately as soon as we got onto Kill Creek. Well, then the flagman started screaming at us and used a lot of profanities, and since we're being televised, I'm going to try to exclude it, as much of that as I can. But he pretty well said, "What the F are you doing?" And I roll down the window, and it's like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "You run my stop sign." And I said, "I didn't run any stop sign. We haven't even got up to your stop sign yet." And he says, "Well, you were supposed to have stopped on 83rd Street. And I said, "Well, if you want us to stop on 83rd Street, somebody needs to be out there to direct traffic and tell us not to make the turn, because I didn't see anything that was supposed to prevent us from that." Well, then he started screaming at us, and he told me to get out of the car, and he was going to kick my effing ass. And so I didn't get out of the car. But anyway, it's more or less that we were still kind of confused. I'm going, well, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to turn in here and so forth. Well, then he says, "Well, this is going to cost your effing ass." Well, then I didn't know exactly what to expect then, but he threw a stop sign down on the ground, and he come charging up to my car, and he comes up to the hood, and he slaps the hood like this, and he pushes himself backwards, and he lands on his hands and his back out in the street. He says, "You hit me with your car, and this is going to cost you." And I'm going, "Vicki, I think it's time to get out of here. We'll go home and call the police." So anyway, that's pretty much what happened. And I tell you, for anybody to get so enraged that quick at a drop of a hat, or I don't even know what sparked it. So it's my opinion that possibly he was high on something. But that's my opinion. I don't have any proof to go along with that. I'm just saying that it And his physical condition with the loss of teeth and everything else it's a high possibility. So I wanted to present the council with what happened to me, and maybe there could be some preventative stuff in the future when we contract companies that we demand when we do the Dodge report or something that we require drug testing and background checks. And I don't know that is too much to ask. I worked in the construction business for a good number of years, and it doesn't matter that when I went to work for an electrical contractor, as soon as I got there, they turned you around and sent you for a drug test. And even though you worked for the company for 10 years, if they sent you out to a company that required drug testing, then we would take another one before we showed up at that job. So, if we had a contract with Sprint or somebody like that, then it would be an additional drug test. And I don't know, that thing got completely out of hand. It shook me up so much that I'd wake up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 nights later, just thinking about it, of what I do wrong, So anyway, my wife was with me, and she saw the whole thing. Now, that individual wasn't arrested or anything for verbal assault because he got one of his fellow workers to say that my car was moving. Well, I've been driving cars for nearly 60 years, and I can tell when my car's moving, and I wasn't moving to knock an employee of that construction company down. We weren't moving at all. It was in park when he came up here and slapped his hands on the hood. So, so it's down to the point where he says type of deal, because he got somebody, the police officer asked the person that supposedly witnessed it, did you see it? And he says, yeah, I think he was moving. He says, what do you mean you think he was moving? He was either moving or he wasn't moving. Well, I do believe he he was moving. So, and I think, that my character, here, being here in DeSoto, it's nothing that, I can't imagine that somebody would just pull in there and try to run over a person. So anyway, that's all I've got. And I would appreciate, that anything, that could protect the citizens of DeSoto in the future. Do you have any questions for me?
All right. Or
my wife.
Sorry this happened I didn't know it was your birthday when you told me. It's even worse, but I'm sorry this happened to you. And
Yeah.
We've had, I immediately called Mike. We made sure they were stopped working on that day. But Mike and I have had a conversation, and Patrick has as well. Maybe you want to update everybody on kind of what we're talked about.
Yeah, right. So, Duke, you came to my office. It was Monday, wasn't it? That you came and relayed that story to me. It's a line we walk. We hire a contractor, and they're doing work on our behalf. And there is a legal separation between the liabilities there. Part of what you're paying for is, that legal separation, that the city's not liable for what they do and all this. This would fall under that. But there is, I think, an obligation to make sure that people doing work within the public right-of-way who have interactions with the public like this, we do have some, obligation, I think, to make sure that they're on the up and up. And so Patrick and I had a brief discussion about it this afternoon. I think the appropriate thing to do is to look into, like you were saying, look into our contract specifications and obligations on the contractor, see what the standard of practice is. I'm just not sure. I'm not familiar with that sort of like a drug testing or screening requirement in other public improvement projects. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm just not familiar with it. But I think we can look and see what other communities are doing, and include in the future some provisions. First of all, we're not be working on 6 p.m. on Saturdays anymore. that's one thing. I don't know if it contributed here or not, but I was
I
thinking
don't
about it.
either, but I was
The mayor was
totally
telling me
surprised
it's 6
that
p.m. on
construction
Saturday.
was still going
Yeah,
on
I
at
was
that
too
hour.
when you guys
Yeah,
like-
me
Hey.
too.
And I've read a lot of comments on this in and around DeSoto. People have made a lot of comments about the signage that went on that particular day. They were totally confused also.
Yeah,
when they
that
would-
work zone was too long. It should have been broken up.
Right.
But regardless, for the future, yeah, we're gonna look and see what might be appropriate to put in our specs. I don't want to run people off, contractors.
No, but I think in this day and age, I think the contractors expect that.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be surprised at all because the contractors I work for, if Ford Motor Company or Chevrolet wanted some work done, they would demand that there would be, each employee that would be sent up on that job would have a recent drug screen and background check. So
Yeah, we do
I'm just-
intend to.
I'm sure that eventually we're going to hear this guy's name again. I don't know what it is, but he's going to be in the news someday. He really is. So thank you.
Thank you, Duke.
Thanks, Duke.
Anyone else wish to address the council this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to number 3, old business, which we have none. So we'll go to 4, new business. Consider ordinance 2474 amending city code to provide new terms for governing body members.
Yes, council, this sort of is just a housekeeping item. You recall we passed a charter ordinance to allow for the terms of newly elected officers to begin the first meeting in December, or if the election hasn't been certified, the third meeting, just so it coincides with one of our regular meetings. So that charter ordinance, there was not a protest. So this ordinance 2474 simply implements this as part of our city code under the section on elections. So if passed, this would make that official that the officers elected in the November election would be start their terms in December.
Any questions for Patrick on this ordinance? If not,
I'll make a motion. We adopt charter ordinance number 27 as written.
It's actually not the chart. You already did the charter. This is
just the
a
ordinance?
regular ordinance, yeah, amending the city code.
That's not what it
Second.
says. That's what it says right there.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carries.
Okay, item B. Adopt 2020 city budget.
Hey, yes, council.
If you don't want to sit through the PowerPoint again.
No, I did not intend that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we gave the PowerPoint earlier.
Good thing you said that.
I know.
I was going to. Well, there it is. So in terms of the formal adoption of the budget, all it takes is a motion from the council adopting the 2020 budget as presented. We will ask for your signatures on the first page. At the very end of the budget document, there's the state budget forms. The first page of those is the budget certification that requires all of your signatures on it. I have a clean copy here. Maybe we get those if we pass the budget this evening. Get those. Yeah. So the one in your packet was the one from the previous one, and the certification is cut off.
The certificati.
Yeah, but I have the clean version, the correct version here at my place.
Okay. Someone want to make that motion?
I will make a motion to adopt the 2020 budget as submitted and duly reviewed at public hearing tonight.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
So this,
Monahan,
Yes.
and Mayor.
oh,
Yes.
you vote. Sorry.
Thank you. It is approved. Thank you.
Very good. We'll get that submitted to the county before the
Okay.
end of next week.
I'm going to pause for just a second so people have an opportunity to sign and don't miss our next item. Consider bids.
It's so exciting. We'd hate to miss any of it.
Well, Brad,
Everybody wants to talk about chip seals.
Brad is the entertainment this evening.
He's going to be.
Oh, these. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Item C, consider bids for Kill Creek Road sealing.
We do have 3 professional engineers. You can direct your questions about fog sealing to them. All right, Council, what you have before you is our final project on Kill Creek Road this year. Certainly looking back in this construction season with all the work that RG Fiber's been doing there, some of the work the city staff's been doing there, and then this recent project where we fixed the transverse cracks. I'm sure the citizens are getting a little tired of having cones and flaggers and all that on Kill Creek, but hope they bear with us because we've got one more project to do this year, and then hopefully we will be done with Kill Creek for quite some time. Anyway, getting back to the capital improvements program, when we first presented this to you, we included a granite chip seal and a fog seal process for Kill Creek Road. This was bid recently in Gardner. I've also went and checked the site and talked with city staff, our Gardner staff, about the results, and they're spoke very positively about the granite seal and the chip seal process, or the fog seal process. The reason we went this route with the purchasing cooperatives, because I actually spoke to Vance Construction because I needed some information on the specifications, put in the bid package, and the guy said basically, well, we'll give them to you, but we're not going to bid on this. We're booked for this year for work, and then just checking, if you look at the price that they gave Gardner, they gave them almost a double price. I think it was more like, yeah, we'll do it, but you're going to pay a premium. So after that discussion and talking to the Gardner staff, decided to go the route of just using the cooperative program that Gardner and Soto are both members of the Mid-America Regional Council. So as long as it's competitively bid for Gardner, then we can also use their bid price. Of course, at that point, I went to Harbor Construction and asked them if they would honor that price, because they're certainly not obligated to, but they did. They said they would meet the granite seal and the fog seal process, but of course, Kill Creek's a little bit different than the Gardner situation as far as traffic control and all those types of things. So they did give us a price for that. Also, their price is different for their markings, because Gardner had a fairly higher end spec, which was grinding off the old markings. They also had the temporary markings at a much closer spacing, so we spread that out a little bit. And also talked with Harbor Construction, and they felt that the grinding off of the old markings really wasn't necessary and added significantly to the cost of the project. Anyway, with all that, we do have the layout from Kill Creek. We are going to go from 83rd all the way up to the entrance ramps to K10. And as you can see, the pricing is also shown in Exhibit B, and then the price proposal from Harbor Construction, which is fits pretty well within the CIP that the council approved back in March. So with that, I will stand for any questions that you all may have.
Questions for Brad?
Brad, is the public lump sum, are they planning to hang door hangers or something out there?
Yeah, I asked them about that, and I don't know if they were going to do door hangers, but it is part of, they do have more of an outreach program, and I didn't get too specific on exactly what they meant by that, but they certainly have had some issues at some point where they felt that they have to have more than just, show up and start working, throwing cones out.
I noticed Gardner's was quite a bit higher than ours, but I just didn't know what their intention was with it.
Yeah, well, Gardner's program actually was on quite a few residential streets as well. So, and it's also about 5 times more square yards than ours. But so that probably has something to do with the public relations program. But I can get some more detail on that if you like, Kevin.
Something that kind of come up a lot. So
Okay.
I just wanted.
Now, is this gonna be like a regular chip and seal? It's gonna have that extra granite gravel on top of it?
It's the same process, Danny. And I guess the advantage of the granite is it's not as dusty initially when it goes down. It wears better. But there will be that kind of break-in period where it'll be a little bit rough.
Is there also a provision of, I know that in the past when we've had the problems out at Cedar Creek where they had to come back and sweep up all this excess, and do we have anything in that in place that if this occurs again on this, are they gonna clean it up?
Yeah, well, as I understand the process is they put the chip seal, the granite chip seal down, then they'll sweep it up, and then there's actually 2 additional sweepings after that. So there's a little bit of a cure time. Even though vehicles can go on it, they will come back and sweep a couple additional times before they put the fog seal down. So
The fog they want after the rock is pretty well set.
yes,
right? I mean,
that's correct.
So that's the idea that the fog seal then locks that aggregate in and seals the top coat, makes it look more like a blacktop surface. you
Yeah,
know,
but they don't want to do that right after.
Exactly.
because
You have
not
to-
all those chips bind.
Right.
That's what they have to sweep up.
Yeah.
I think your experience on Cedar Creek Road, that job I think failed.
Well, we
They did it.
had 3 to 4 inches and sometimes
Yeah.
5 to 6
Of
inches.
loose
Remember
rock.
that was the job that
Yeah.
just completely
Yeah.
failed.
Yeah.
They had to redo it.
There wasn't much of a seal. It just sounds like
No,
a
there was a
chip,
lot of
a spreading of.
Do you know,
But they did redo it.
Brad, do you know when this work is supposed to happen?
They think they can get it done within a month, well, from the approval date, they were going to try to get it done within a month.
I was just concerned with the MS 150 coming down Kill Creek and
Oh,
Oh,
what?
that's a good
That's
point.
the date when they're doing this. It
When is
might be
that?
something. I'm not sure of the exact
The
date
MS
right
150 is on a
It's
Saturday, so
Saturday.
we can make sure they're not working.
now. Yeah,
And,
but I mean, you just want to make sure it's not.
yeah, well, the chip seal actually, when that's done, you can drive on that very quickly afterwards. But the fog seal does take
It would be loose for
an
bicycles.
afternoon
Yeah,
to
you
set
might not
up.
want it the next day.
Mhm.
You might not
Just
want
depending
the
on how loose
MS-150 on
the
that chip
gravel
seal.
is and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, you know. It's, But anyway, just wanted to bring that up. You might check
Oh,
it.
does MS, do they come in
have
on
that-
Kill Creek or I
yeah,
thought
all
they
the way-
came,
yeah,
I thought
all the
they
way
came
down Kill Creek from-
83rd. Okay.
Yeah, they come all the way down Kill Creek.
Okay.
So that leads to my point. I was hoping the next time we did some maintenance on Kill Creek that we might go ahead and, that pavement is wider than we've got 32 foot of pavement there, I think 16 foot on each side.
Mhm.
I was thinking we might stripe inside, like stripe the lane at 12 and then put a white line at the edge of that lane to separate, provide a separate space for
Pedestrians,
people that
bicycles.
ride or walk. I mean, there are people that walk that, and it would.
Yeah, we don't have that pricing.
It looks like
in
it looked like to
this.
me it would add 6,000 or 7,000 feet of white marking paint to the bid. I think just
Yeah.
I just ballparking, but which would be I think roughly $8,000 to $10,000. It's not a inconsequential amount, but it seemed like I'd hope maybe the next time we did that maintenance that we might include that in just another way to
It would be
promote
nice.
our walkability and connectivity.
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, there's money in the CIP.
There is, but you're right. This is the last project. The money that's left over, we're going to use for the asphalt overlay. So that's, but we certainly could add that, and it just means we do a little bit less asphalt work.
Is this CIP money or is this maintenance money? I mean, it says
Sorry,
CIP.
I said CIP. No,
Well,
this,
because your report says CIP also.
Yeah, no.
But this is street maintenance
road
money.
maintenance work.
Right.
Yeah, it's the $400,000 in the road budget plus 70,000 that they also have. So it's about 470,000, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, I might have. Yeah, it really should be out of the street maintenance program.
'Cause it used to
It was
be
just
part
kind of
of
on the brain.
CIP.
It was always been.
It was always.
But for
Part of the
2019,
CIP.
it would be in the
It's not.
in the
coming out of
street
your
budget.
maintenance.
It's in the
Yeah,
street
it's part of
budget.
maintenance.
Yeah, not CIP. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Because I was trying to figure out where that's fitting in, and there was no line item in capital improvement.
No, there's
I
not.
figured it was
That's
maintenance.
correct.
And yeah, I would absolutely support striping for shoulder that could
Mhm.
allow for a bicycle buffer along the road.
Yeah, we do.
Mhm. So how do we?
Make a proposal with the
Well, I think you can
contingent
approve.
for
You can,
adding that.
I'm sorry.
Make a proposal with the contingent for adding that.
Yeah, you can approve it as bid with the authorization for staff to add.
Negotiate the
Yeah,
addition of
negotiate the additional.
additional white pavement marking.
That'd work.
That sounds like a great motion that I just made. Just what he said.
You know that?
Second.
Lana,
Is that authorization to staff to,
Negotiate the.
We'll approve the 132.
yeah. So it was a
Approve
motion
the
to
bid as
approve the
presented.
bid as presented,
the last part on
and with the
authorization
staff able to negotiate the striping
of a bike lane?
of a bike lane. Yeah. Or
Let me read that back to you.
Mike, do you want it read differently than that? It's
I
not
don't
really
know if
called
we
the
wanna call it
bike
a
lane.
bike lane.
I think you want to say striped
Add,
shoulder.
add the
A s-
extra, yeah. Add
A striped shoulder. Just keep the bike lane out of it. Stripe the shoulder.
Striping of the
Because we're not adding signage
Right,
or any
right.
other
We don't want it
features
to
that
be-
would make it
Yeah.
a bike lane. We're
Right.
just defining the lane, the driving lane,
Mhm.
and the rest is.
Finally, second to that. I don't know if you heard it.
So we had a motion and a second.
Want me to read that one more?
I think we all understand the motion, I believe, don't we?
You can read it. Go ahead. Yes.
Motion by Councilmember Murdoch to approve the proposal from Harbor Construction utilizing the Regional Cooperative Initiative through MARC in an amount not to exceed $132,919.60 with the authorization to staff to negotiate the striping of the shoulder.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Roll call?
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. The motion carried, Mayor.
Okay.
You were.
Executive session, we already did that.
We
so.
did.
Advisory reports. Mike, what do you got?
I don't have anything this evening. I'm assuming Brad's going to tell us about the planning commission meeting at the end of the month. It's pretty full. Was that? I don't want to steal your thunder. Okay, then I don't have anything.
Patrick?
Just Mayor, I don't know if you were going to share, but we did have the meeting about the sidewalk in Oak Country that was very well attended. Seemed like we had the majority of the people that live out there attended and had some good discussion. No resolution or really, but it was a good meeting.
We plan on coming back in February with some recommendations to move forward with that.
February.
Did I say February?
I mean, it could be,
September.
it could be February.
Yeah, we're programming that.
Tell me about it later.
Whatever random month pops into my head. September.
September. Yeah, I was thinking it might ought to happen a little sooner.
Was the consensus from the public for the developer?
Well, you know, it's interesting that, you know, went in with certain assumptions, and what I assumed wasn't necessarily true. I assumed that everybody that bought the property was made aware that that requirement was on there by their title report, and that was not the case. A number of those were sold without that encumbrance being made public to them when they bought the property. So they didn't have the disclosure of that, so it wasn't an informed decision they made when they bought the lots. So. I mean, so that kind of threw out my first idea or thought that, you know, well, you bought it, you knew that was hanging over you, but they really didn't. So, But I think it'll take some thought. I mean, we have to find some way forward. And we will.
And there was a fair consensus that if it's happening, the developer should do it. But
Developer was not in attendance. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have another opinion. So, or they made a bold assumption there. What else you got, Patrick?
That's it.
All right, Brad, you're the big show again.
Guess what? We're gonna have a really full planning commission. And we actually are gonna have 3 public hearings. First one will be for the final draft of the comp plan. And hopefully that will work. Kim Saxon is also request for rezoning property just to the east of the carriage houses to C2 commercial lawn and landscape business. That will require a site plan approval afterwards. So that'll be a positive development. Pretty well tearing down old structures.
I'd love to see that change the look there for sure.
That will be on the planning commission agenda. Sims Global property. Planning commission, which will then be followed up by a second.
Depending on how the first act.
Well, that's true. The other two could vanish.
Okay.
Approved, but I think we'll have a pretty full house. Public hearing for that. We've already had protest petitions submitted. Already taken care of, done, so. We'll open this majority by the time. Well, it will get to you one way or another.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then that's what we have at the planning commission. We just, Robbie brought up 91st of Sunflower, 91st Street. They approve road will be, we're gonna have the geotechs come in tomorrow and get us compaction rates. We'll start putting asphalt down next week. 4 inches of asphalt. Curb will go down. Put up the rest of the asphalt. They're making good progress.
Okay. Any questions for Brad? All right. Lana, what do you got for us tonight?
The league has sent me the annual voting delegate forms for the meeting. So I just need to know who is planning to attend the league meeting this year and who would like to represent and vote at the business meeting on behalf of the city.
Okay. Well, I'm going. I can vote. I think I'll be there. That's Monday, right? The voting
Yes, that is
happens
correct.
Monday morning.
Yes, that is correct. So,
I've registered already.
pardon me?
I've registered already.
Okay, so Mayor Walker and Councilman Daniels. All right, I will submit your names. And then secondly, just to let you all know, I will be traveling to Madison, Wisconsin next week for the Wisconsin Pork Summer Conference. Be doing a presentation there and attending their classes. Thank you again for that opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for taking DeSoto out across the world.
Yep, I'll be taking about 120 DeSoto pins with me to Wisconsin.
All right. Council comments. Danny, you want to start us tonight?
None tonight.
Okay, thank you. Good report. Kevin?
Well, I want to comment on Duke Steel because I've mentioned several times that the construction companies don't seem to be using the proper book for signage or following the proper rules out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could have somebody when they do that or they meet with you to begin their process. I also think that another good thing would be to check out what safety programs they have to know that they're complying with with the OSHA rules and the other rules that are out there, and wearing their full PPE and high vis stuff. We've had that kind of trouble going around all summer. With maybe their OSHA 300 logs, so we'd know how good accidents they have before we just hire somebody. The only other thing I have is there is some tall grass on the corner of 91st Street at the medical property, and it causes a line of sight problem for the school kids that are coming out.
Yeah, on the Olathe Medical Center.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when they come out of the restaurant.
Oh man, looking back to the west.
Looking back
there.
to
Yeah. You mentioned that to me a couple weeks ago, and I brought that up with Walter and Steve. Evidently, OMC, because their whole property doesn't get mowed,
Right.
And they're making the claim that it's an agricultural use, that they're growing hay on the property, but the sightline issue is independent of that. So
I just think somebody's going to pull out in front of one of those young kids.
yeah, we'll get that mowed.
Or the Merck folks. Or when we finish the road,
Well,
it's going to
that
become
part
more.
would be on the
Yeah.
right of way, wouldn't it?
I
They
don't.
mow about
Yeah.
2 strips.
Would it be considered a right of way since it's blocking road access view?
Well, that's the thing. We do have authority to clear the line of sight at an intersection. We can do that.
That was the only safety concern.
And we will.
Yeah.
Something similar to that, and you probably trying to think of who drives off of Waverly. So if you're turning off of Waverly onto 83rd,
Yeah, it can be a challenge at
it's
times.
and it's mowed right next to it, but the hill part is not, and so it's very tall. So is that not our right? Do we not?
No, it is. It is.
the
We
hill part
and
there, too.
there and at Corliss is another one where you've got an embankment, and if we don't keep those weeds down
Because it's
diligently,
mowed, the flat part is mowed,
yeah,
but then it angles up,
Right.
to where that guy's fence is. Is that ours or is
it
that
is.
his?
It is. That's right of way, and we try to get out. We have this
Yeah.
boom mower. It's a hydraulic thing. It can go anywhere. So the flat part's easy to mow. We can mow that with a brush hog, but the boom mower, we try to get we focus on those intersections with that. Yeah, it's something we just need to keep on top of.
Thank you. It was just a safety concern.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Rob.
Had nothing until the mention of the boom mower. Apparently, one of our guys that uses the boom mower is really good. The other one tears up the dirt and is not real good at using it. I've had some complaints about that recently.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So that's it.
I think yeah. Okay.
Boom mower
You
training.
know,
We're
good
practicing. We're
Gotta
practicing.
practice. Roger
You
will
don't
probably-
start out an all-star. You got to work your way up.
That's right.
Apparently, he was tearing up some of the dirt and not leaving grass in certain areas and stuff. So
Maybe
Okay.
you have to mow less. He's got it all figured out. He might be better of them.
I think that just goes back to all of our pieces of equipment, right? The plows, the loaders, and everything, that all of our employees know how to run them before they just go out and operate.
Lori.
Oh, that makes me think of something. Makes me laugh. I'll tell you after. I just want to mention, kind of put a different hat on and mention that on Saturday, weather permitting, that there's going to be an event out at Lexington Lake, and we're calling it a pop-up paddle, but it's meant to be a community event for anybody in the community to come out and do some kayaking. And Friends of the Call will be out there with their fleet of kayaks for just anybody to come out and use. So if you know any kids or adults or anybody who's wanted to give it a try, kids can do it. We'll have life jackets for them, and there will be hot dogs for everybody. And just a good old time. So good old time for the community at Lexington Lake. We're trying to promote it, and Johnson County was really good with us as far as letting us do this without permits for the boats. So we thank Johnson County for their support on this too. So just wanted to share that with anybody who is going to be around and wants to bring somebody out there.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any other city business.
All right. Thank you. Kevin.
I have no report.
Thank you. I have no report, so I would entertain a motion. Danny makes a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
hi.
All right. I think we were still at now I'll ask for the opposed. All right, we're adjourned.